I'm gonna try some drone shooting again today, guys. Got some skills down, so I think we're gonna be okay. Give it a run. Thank you for joining. Let's get started. All right. All right, everybody. So here we have a picture of County Road 518 and 516. This is the northwest corner of the property. You can kind of see 518 runs up and down. 516 runs left to right. These are county roads that we have here. As we come into the picture, you'll see that the house is right there, the vehicles in the driveway. There's the carport on the back side, the tree, and we've all seen this from different footage takes that we've had. Storage containers on the side, the two zircons, the RV on the side, the pull rake. You see we have the two gates on the left side of the road there, one to the backyard, one to the barn. As we come across the back driveway here, we go across the culvert, and then we have the old barn, which is the left side there, with the lean-to attached to it. We also have the brown barn, which holds a little bit more. Then we kind of come to the edge of the gravel here, and we come into what we call the triangle field. Now, this triangle field used to hold a lot of horses back in the day, and you see the old RV, the boat there. We'll be getting rid of those this year. But yeah, this had horses in it at one point. Then as we kind of cross to the tip of this triangle field, you see those prairie dog holes out there and all that. This is field one. In field one, you can see all the pivot tracks as well, too, that's out there. At the top of there, you see all that brown dirt that's kind of in that strip. And this is all that used to be flood irrigation ditches, and there was about 3, 4 in some spots. It's the high spot of the field, so as you were turning and looking at this field, you can kind of see that the left side is the high area, so the flood irrigation would be up there, and then as we dam it off in certain segments, it would run downhill, and then it would kind of irrigate those areas, which could be a little bit of a challenge because of the elevation changes. As the drone kind of comes down a little bit more, you can kind of see the contours of the ground there, as well as the pivot tracks. But everything you see in brown dirt is, at least in this area, is all where flood irrigation ditches used to be. So by plowing that up, disking it up, we've actually kind of gone to getting rid of those areas. And I think in kind of this area, it's about 50 feet is about the width of it. It can get up to 60 feet in some areas, probably down to like 20 in some other places. But as we kind of come down field one here, this is field one. The fields are kind of set up away from the house. So the closest one of the house, field one, as we go to the other side of the property, to the other corner, we'll get all the way to field 10. But as we come to field one here, this is where a good chunk of good grass was made and where I started from. Then we come into this little triangle that's here. This is field 2 here. It's about 1.5 acres there. But that'll all be kind of coming together into one field now, field 1 and field 2. Then as the drone kind of comes closer back up to near the county road here, this strip that you see here, kind of center screen, this is field 3. And field 3 has flood irrigation that comes from both the left side and the right side, and it kind of meets down in the middle where that little dip is. By getting rid of all that flood irrigation there too, we probably gained another 30 to 40 feet of extra production land there as well too. So more production land means more bales next year. Now that we've actually got the pivot irrigation in, which took the majority of last year, this coming year we should see a good production run here. The drone will kind of center up, and then we'll kind of come back down, flying right down the middle of this. And again, left side, right side, each side about 30 to 40 feet of additional production land there. Again, you'll see kind of the prairie dog holes in the middle. I'll be working on that next year. As we come down to the end here, you'll see that telephone pole down the middle. Down there is actually where we had a lot of willows that was kind of in that circle right there, and that was a pain. My first year, I spent a lot of time in that willow trying to cut it down, and it probably got up to about 7-8 feet high in there, dried up. We had to knock it down a few different times. Now that the water's kind of out of there, because we're not doing flood irrigation, there won't be any pooling. So that's going to be helpful in that area. As the drone kind of turns this way, we come down to the south side of the property, and this will be the southwest corner of the property. Again, you see the county road to the right side there. There's a gravel road that's kind of up to the front there, and that's the edge of the property there. So that's the south side of the property. This is field 6 here, that square that we come into. As the drone turns, again, you can see some more strips there, and all the way to that house there is pretty much the property line. Again, those green houses that you see up there, green tops anyway. As the drone turns now, we're getting into field 5. So again, we just saw field 6, which was that square. We crossed over the lateral from where field 3 was, and as we kind of come down to where these pivots are parked, this is field 5, which is probably the longest of the fields that we have. Field 5 and field 6, which is behind us. Field 4 is in front of us, and that's going to be new production land, a whole bunch of land there. I want to say almost 9 acres there, both the left side and the right side. And it's been planted with meadow brome, high temperature timothy, and also orchard grass. But yeah, anything you see that's brown. Okay, so anything you see that's brown dirt is pretty much new production land. And like I said, this is almost 9 acres, I want to say, in this area between the left side, right side. And it's been disked a couple different times. Last year we had it set up. It was seeded, it was fertilized, it was ready to go, but we didn't get the pivot, which was supposed to be put in by April. We didn't get it in till the end of August, so we lost the whole year last year. So this ended up being more weeds and stuff like that. This is my brother's house here that's at the edge of the property. That other house that you see on the north there, all those houses are actually someone else's property. So as the drone turns, we're kind of coming, and it'll slide to the left here. We're kind of coming to the edge of the property here. You'll see that fence that's right there, old fence line. Everything that's on this left side or straight down now is this was all that thistle, a lot of Canadian thistle that grew right here. And then on the right side too, this little drainage area that you see, it's a little drainage ditch that kind of has this S-turn. All this was all red willow too, and cattails when I first got the property. So I've been working on knocking this down over the last couple years. Keeping the water off of it from the flood irrigation has helped. So drying it out has been good. To the left, this little strip that you see here is field 8. To the right is field 5. And then as you come into this dark brown patch here, this is field 9. So there's a separation between field 9 and field 8. Again, what separated was the high spot. So then you see straight down, you see this big ditch here. This is a lateral that feeds field 9 and field 10 on the left side. So field 10 is the established field that you see on the left side there. I didn't think we were going to get much bales out of that last year, but we actually ended up getting a good little chunk. Accidentally just thought I'd put some water in it, see what happens. But as we come down this ditch line too, you can see these pivot bridges. There's a lot of them on the property. I want to say I think there's 16 or 17 bridges that we've had put in because it crossed the 2 different laterals. This field 9 though, this is almost 10 acres here. So between field 9 and then the other one we saw on the other side, field 4, we're going to gain almost 35% more production land when you factor those 2 big fields in, plus all these swaths of plowed up ditches. So everything that you see in brown dirt is all going to be put into production this year. As the drone turns, we're going to kind of come down and reset and go down where these pivots are. And these 2 pivots are kind of the reason why we didn't have much of any production last year. We didn't have a lot of bales, so it was all about getting this stuff installed. Down the pivot tires, you can kind of see that trench, and that's where they put in all the underground piping. I want to say, I think it's 6-inch PVC that runs to connect one pivot to the other. This pivot that we have here is 4 towers, and then it'll come to the end, and then it'll start the beginning of the second pivot. So this is the south pivot that we have here. Again, 4 towers. We have boom backs coming in. Good conservation as far as the gallons per minute that this thing gives off. Then we come to the end here. You see the valley sign, and we're going to change those this year. This is the beginning of the north pivot here. Another 4 towers that we have coming down this way. And again, we're coming down field 5 again. Field 4 is up to the north. Now to the top there, you kind of see that tarp that's there. This is where the diverter is, as well as the pump. It's about a 20, I think it's a 20 PSI pump that's pushing both pivots. We try to alternate it just so it's only focusing on one at a time. That way we can kind of keep the ground saturated, but at the same time make sure we're being productive and conserving water at that same time. I put some pallets and the tarp kind of around that pump to kind of keep just the water and the weather off of it, and then trench it down so that it drains away. The diverter and the brain systems right there, as well as the intake, is that gray box. Now right here is this where you see this ice is actually a pond that we had to fill in this last year. And then straight up that way is probably about 60 feet of new production land. Now as we come around this brown dirt here, probably about another 50 feet here. So if you follow all of these little paths and these trenches and all this dug up areas, you'll see that that's a lot of new production land that we're going to be trying to put back into play this year. Again, you see the house and the distance there, as well as the barns. We'll kind of reset, and as the drone kind of comes back to the house, again, kind of a quick tour of what the property looks like. But again, the drone only has so much battery, so I try to make sure I get it all fit in when I can. It's been a great experience trying to learn how to fly this thing and trying to get dialed in a little bit better over the winter. Hopefully we'll have some good footage as we're cutting, raking, baling this year, stacking, bringing in bales from the field. But yeah, so hopefully as the drone kind of comes to its landing, definitely want to thank you guys for sticking with me up to this point. Hopefully that helps visualize what the property looks like. Okay, so that's the property. About 80 acres. You guys see with all that brown dirt that's out there, there's a lot of potential for this year, next year. A lot more meadow brome, Timothy, and we're using a high temperature Timothy this year, so hopefully that'll help us going into the summer months. Orchard grass will be out there. Probably won't do any more alfalfa just because it didn't really take for a lot of my customers. I really do have a lot of horse customers out here that like small bale, and it's just been a good combination for me. So just small bale, grass hay, again horse quality, but fine for llamas, yaks, goats, sheep, cattle. It's good for everybody. So that's, I think, what I'm gonna focus on this year. But I'm glad you guys could come along, take a look at the property. I know it's been a little vague as far as what it looks like out there. One big old rectangle divided up into 10 fields. Now that those irrigation ditches are plowed up and disked and we're turning that into production land, the entire property will probably go down to 5 fields, I think now. And what we'll end up dividing them up is just the lateral ditches that are gonna kind of run down either the middle of the property or on that western side that you saw, I mean the eastern side. So that's kind of where I'll have to make those divisions. But again, you saw the pivot bridges, how it crosses that anyway. So the 2 pivots are my main watering source. I do have sprinklers that I'll use on the corners. Everything stays within my cubic feet per second that I'm allocated on my ditch for the amount of water I paid for. So no issues there. But I want to thank you guys again for coming along with me. Again, cool little different view, and again, as I get better, you know, maybe the footage will get better as well too. It's been a journey up to this point, editing, all this other stuff too, so you know, please stay tuned. I'll kick out some more videos hopefully as it gets a little warmer, find some projects to do. There's a couple of things I really want to show you guys in the future here, but everything in its time. Thank you guys again for tuning in. We'll see you soon. Bye.